Thank you. I want to tell you a few things about Jimmy Duck Holmes that he wouldn't tell you himself. In 2006, he won 2 Living Blues Awards for his album Back to Bentonia. And it was the best debut album and also the best acoustic album of that year. In 2007, his album Done Got Tired of Trying was one of the top 10 blues albums in the United States. And then in 2008, Jimmy and the Blue Front Cafe, which he'll talk about at length in a few minutes, were featured in a documentary called M for Mississippi. And in 2012, he appeared with Terry Harmonica Bean at the World Cafe Live on WXPN as a part of the Mississippi Blues Project. And you can see that one on YouTube, because I did. In 2015, he appeared in a documentary called I Am the Blues. And then in 2019, his album, Cypress Grove, was nominated for a Grammy Award for the Best Traditional Blues Album, the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. And this is Jimmy Duck Holmes from Bentonia, Mississippi, and as they say, he's the last man standing playing the Bentonia Blues. And so I know everybody asks you this, but when did you get started playing the blues, and how did you get your first guitar and get kicked off?
Well, the seed got planted 1957. When I said the seed got planted, guitar-wise, I mean, began to fool with it. 1957, the first guitar I put my hand on belonged to a blues musician named Henry Stuckey. He is said to be the father of the Bentonia style of blues music. Now, do I know that? I don't know, but the people that researched it said the style of blues, known as the Bentonia style of blues, originated in Bentonia from a guy named Henry Stuckey. Now, I get asked the question often, why is it different? It's a lot of blues music. First of all, it's played in a known style of tuning as open tuning. Now, you got a lot of musicians that play the open style tuning of the guitar. I call it open tuning, be it open E, open C. Now, what makes that the Bentonia style open so different is the way the old guy perfected the G string. Open tuning with what the old guy did to the G string that sets that particular sound apart. And the story behind it, is it French? But anyway, Henry Stuckey was my neighbor. He was the first person I seen play blues music on a guitar in person. He lived about 10 steps from where I lived. And my mom and dad ran the Blue Front. He played guitar and worked the cotton field. On Friday, late afternoon, when we come out of the cotton field, he would put his guitar on his shoulder and work little what they call juke joints across the local community. And he was going to always sit on his front porch, play his kid, and me and my sibling a couple of songs before he would leave, because otherwise we helped babysit each other. It was 10 of us, and God knows how many he had. But we would sit around in the yard. He would get on the porch and play music for us. We would see him on the late Sunday afternoon or early Monday morning. And now, I never had no intention of playing a guitar publicly. I just wanted to learn to do it. Here I am today.
Now,
Henry Stuckey, you remember, and you can find him on Facebook, and they had searched for Henry Stuckey. Not Henry Stuckey himself, but a photo of recording. They yet to find a recording. I mean, for years, 20 or 30 years, they were trying to find a portrait of it. And a divine intervention. That divine person is my witness. People would come to me and search of a photo of it. I didn't have one. A thought came to my mind. He had a daughter the same age as me. I contacted her in Pennsylvania. And she said, I got a lot of pictures of my dad. I could keep out. Any chance have a picture of him playing the guitar, she had. You know, Michael Schultz went to Pennsylvania and got that. That's the portrait on the marker here, Mr. Tucker. That's where they come from, Pennsylvania. But anyway, that's the way the story goes. Now I'll begin to say about the Frenchman. He was a World War I veteran. I want you to listen to this real good. He was a World War I veteran. I think it was France. He was stationed. He wasn't a doctor, but he worked in the medical assistant part. When the music got popular, the Frenchman took credit for it. Said he learned it from them. Why would they come to the United States looking for me, want to know, can I play it? He started in France. Well, if Henry Stuckey learned it from y'all, he must have brought everything from France to the U.S. when he left the service. But they know that's not true. Not saying he didn't learn something from them, but they didn't start the Bentonia style music. They would have had some type of lyrics. They knew the style of playing, how it was tuning, that was it. Of course.
I hadn't heard that one before. Anyway, tell them about where you got your first guitar of your very own.
My Radio Shack, my very own, little plastic guitar, plastic string up. That's the first one I purchased, $8. Now the first guitar that my dad bought me. My dad wasn't a musician, but he loved the blues music and moonshine. He couldn't do both of them, he didn't have time. But anyway, he bought my first, I introduced to like I say, by Henry Stuckey in September of 1957. My daddy bought me a plastic guitar for Christmas. Bless his heart, he was drunk when he gave it to me. He said, I'm gonna tune it for you in the morning. That ain't made it here yet. I finally got it tuned, but that ain't made it. At least he bought me what I wanted, what I needed.
How old were you?
10 years old.
10 years.
10 years old. Matter of fact, I just had turned 10. I turned 10 in July, and I got the guitar at December. Here I am today.
Do you know where that guitar is now?
I don't have the slightest idea.
Okay, but then the second guitar you got, you made a real guitar.
Now a real guitar.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Alan Lomax from the Smithsonian. After he shook the wood up and down, and when he found out that I either knew a little something about the Bentonia style or was interested in it, and he got me a guitar. Well, he didn't want it to die, that particular style of music. Do y'all know who Alan Lomax is?
Yeah. He's a folklorist.
He's one of the curators of the Smithsonian Institute. And I think his son or daughter still runs it, I think. But he shook the wood, Louisiana, Mississippi, looking for old school musicians with Johnny Cole Jazz, the old type of the turn of the century, not just all blues. He was trying to find the roots of all of it, how it got here, what come from root started. And that's where the next guitar came from.
You know, he's a folklorist, and he's collected folk music from all over the world. He went to all over rural United States to find out what the roots of all the music that was being played during that time. This 20s, the 30s, after they got wire recorders, and they ran them off of great big batteries, car batteries. Had to back the car up to somebody's house, like Jimmy's house, and then hook everything up, the power source up to this whole set of batteries in the trunk, and then run the wires inside so they could record the music.
And what's his name was again?
Alan Lomax.
Okay.
He's got the Alan Lomax archive. You can see a lot of this stuff on YouTube.
L-O-M-A?
Yes, ma'am.
And probably, they say if you pull up the Smithsonian Institute or whatever it is, it has a lot of his stuff on display, right?
Right.
And a lot of that stuff come out of the woods of Mississippi, the woods of Louisiana. He had to have a passion for it because he went places I would dare not go. But Contributed to him that a lot of the stuff is still alive. Alan Lomax contributed a lot of stuff is still alive. Man. He made it work if it's all ours.
Which one of your guitars is in the Blues Museum up in Clarksdale?
The other one came from, you know Tommy Lee West?
I know Tommy Lee West.
Came from him, Tommy Lee West. He played a style of music called hill country blues. I don't know if you're familiar. Hill country would be, if any of y'all are familiar with Mississippi, hill country is a style of music called Mississippi hill country blues. It's the northeast corner, up near the, sort of like near the Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi border. They call it North Mississippi hill country blues. That's where it comes from. Mississippi probably the only state other than Louisiana. How many different type blues music they got in Mississippi? You got Chicago, you got Delta, you got Bentonia, you got Hill Country. There's another one. It's about 4 or 5 different styles of blues music come out of the state of Mississippi.
There's another style around Jackson.
Yep, that's right. You got Delta blues, you got Bentonia blues, you got Hill Country blues, you get Chicago blues. What's the one name? It's about 5 different categories of blues music that come out of Mississippi. And can't win a state pat that trails on back about that.
Did any of your brothers and sisters play music?
My mom sang, played a little piano, but not blues. I got a brother that played, but he played in West Chicago style of blues. That's where you bend the strings a lot. That's for the old stuff that I do now.
Is that Mookie?
Mookie, right. Teach music at Delta Blues Museum in Clarksdale.
All right, talk about the Blue Front a little bit.
The Blue Front got me. I probably sit here and talk next 2 weeks talking about it. Will you tell them?
He said a little bit.
A little bit, right. But anyway, it's it had a lot of history other than the blues. And it still is to a certain extent. Now, it was the information center of that community. If you were looking for somebody, the first stop was someone going to recommend you to go to the Blue Front.
And where's that located?
It's on 49 North, you're leaving Jackson. Matter of fact, if you don't get hit with the traffic, you can drive from Jackson, Mississippi to the Blue Front Cafe in 20 minutes. It sits right on 49. If you turn your head, you'll miss it.
It's beautiful downtown Bentonia.
It was a thriving little town at one time. But anyway, in the community, not just white community. During my younger days, when the federal government gave out staple food, they would stockpile at the Blue Front, like in Paris and stuff. So once a month, you could come by the Blue Front and pick up your government ration, like meal, salt, stuff that didn't spoil. And like again, it was the information booth. And during that particular time, when I say that particular time, like far back as I can remember, when you had a lot of farmers, row farmers, when I say row farmers, like cotton and stuff like that, the season farmers, when they gathered the crop late September, early October, when they gathered the crop, they hung around the Blue Front all day long, every day until they got time to go back to the field, which was going to be late February, early March. The Blue Front was like a social gathering place, both black and white. Now, for those of you who've been there, my chauffeur can tell you, he can tell you, if you come in that Blue Front or come to Bentonia, period, it becomes a brotherhood. I'm serious, it becomes a brotherhood. I'm not kidding, it becomes a brotherhood, I'm serious. How or why, I don't know. It seems like it's one big family. Be it black or white, it seems like one big family. Now, since I've been here, I had so many people stop me and say, I've been in the Blue Front, I know you. I didn't know he had been there. You say he's been there 3 times. My point is so many people come that I just can't keep it all in the back of my mind. School teacher. You see my chauffeur? Tell you a story about him in the Blue Front. He had been there a couple of times. He fell in love with it. So he drifted in one afternoon. He said, let me ask you a question. I really didn't know his name. Let me ask you a question. I said, oh, go ahead. He said, can I get married here at the Blue Front? I said, get married at the Blue Front? He said, yeah. I said, who gonna marry you? He said, my pastor. I said, do your pastor know where you gonna get married at? He said, my pastor said if he couldn't marry me at the Blue Front, he wasn't gonna marry me. Now the pastor, I don't get it. He didn't take part of it after the ceremony. I don't think, did he? But anyway, that's a true story. I got a great big poster in the Blue Front of him and his bride and his pastor getting married. But point is, why the Blue Front, I don't know. You know, I had the slightest idea. But I thank God I'm retired. I don't fish, I don't hunt, I don't garden. The Blue Front give me something to do every day. I get up and go do it just like a job. Don't I, Mike?
That's right.
7 a.m. in the morning, I'm there like a
Yes,
fool.
Yes, sir.
I'm there. And if someone know me and know the Blue Front, we want to go to the Blue Front. Reagan Jimmy there, so go there, he there. Got nothing else to do. Like I said, I don't fish, I don't hunt, don't garden. So I go to the Blue Front, go, guess what? Somebody's coming. Yeah.
Now, before electricity and the jukebox, there had to be music at the Blue Front. There wasn't any other place to have
We
music.
just talked about them old guys, that's the music.
Who came and played? You tell us who played. I know some people played.
My mom, Tim, I don't remember her saying Muddy Waters came by. I don't remember that. But I know she said Howlin' Wolf came by. Johnny Hooker came by. Lightning Hawkins came by. And God knows the one who didn't really get known professionally. But I can't remember her saying that Muddy Waters came by. I know she said Johnny Hooker, Howlin' Wolf. I remember saying that. Not on schedule. This is before they got famous. They was in search of plays that they could play, make a few tips, en route to trying to get out of Mississippi.
What about Skip James?
Skip James, born and raised in Bentonia. His boss man, I don't know if I told Michael this or not, Skip James' boss man was named Kurt Whitehead. He owned it, and you can look this up, but not now. He owned the Woodbine Plantation in Bentonia. Skip James, or Nehemiah James was his birth name. They all call him Skip James. His name was Nehemiah James. He and his mom worked for this plantation because they had done away with a lot of the slave fields. But this man happened to buy the old plantation house, and the name of the plantation Woodbine. He got pictures of it. Now, when that man thought he had got a phone call, it's time for you to get up out of here. Property where I live now, he all but donated to my dad. He was a white guy, Kurt Whitehead. I'm thinking around 100 acres. He didn't give it to my dad, but he made it possible that he could buy for a little nothing. Skip James was placed off and on at the Blue Front, but now he was one, I think Skip was the first one to carry that particular style of music to the world.
Right.
He didn't start it. He learned it from Henry Stuckey.
Right.
But Nehemiah James or Skip James carried that particular style of music to the world. Yep.
He played at the Newport Folk Festival, I think it was 65 or 66, and nobody had really ever heard of that before. And when he played, he just electrified the crowd. Just to let you know how that influences things, the Cream, Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce, they played on their first album. They had "I'm So Glad." If you go back and listen to the album, I'm so glad, I'm glad. Okay, that's Skip James' song.
Yep.
So but you told me that your daddy called him Skippy.
Skippy. And because he kind of had a frisky looking walk. They wanted to say that he was kind of, but it just was his natural walk. Now, another thing about about the blues, lyric-wise. The old guy didn't just play. Their lyric was based on something they had experienced in life, or they knew someone who had experienced it. They didn't just get up there and start playing with it. And they more or less told stories with the music. It was stories about what they had did or what they had gone through. Now, it's a song now that I'm often actually play called Hard Time. Some people call it Hard Time Killing Flow. Some people call it Hard Time Greasy Flow. Now, Skip James started that song. And my mama, my mom used to talk a lot when he would come out and get it. He said, where that song come about, Hard Time, Greasy Flow, he was in search of being what they call them, the red caps at the hotel where you open the limousine door.
Porters?
Porter. His ambition was to be a porter at a big fancy hotel. He didn't have it. Put him in the kitchen. If I ever get up off this greasy floor, I mean, not necessarily, well, he may have been on the floor. Greasy floor, he said, if I ever get up off this greasy floor, I'll never drop down this low anymore. That's the story he told, so my mom when we got back home. And also, she said, if you got money, you better be for sure. Which is, you better be for sure that you got enough. Because hard time will send you from door to door. Is that correct? If you got money, you profess to be wealthy, you better make sure. Skip, you better make for sure you're right. Because hard times drive you from door to door. Is that true?
You say hard times when you what?
Drive you from like door to door. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you bet.
He said, if you got money, you better be for sure.
That's right.
Because there come a time when hard time will send you from door to door knocking,
That's true.
want a handout.
That's true.
That's true. That's why I say they didn't just do lyrics, just do some lyrics. Most of their lyrics were based on something they had experienced. Yeah. And he did another song, Cool Water, Cool Water. Somebody give me some cool water, please. Cool water, cool water. This moonshine whiskey's hot to me. Cool water, please. Somebody give me some cool water, please, because this moonshine is hot to me. It'll burn your throat. Some of these guys know it.
That's what I heard.
But then you had some of the old timers could drink it straight.
Ooh, it was strong.
It was strong. My mom used to tell, I know it was strong. My mom bootlegged it. Another story behind me in the blue front, since we're talking about that moonshine. Bless her heart, my mom was working so hard, trying to take care of 14 kids. And her bootlegger, the guy she was buying from, would always, but you ever seen those water jugs used to be in the bus station restaurant, and you go to point to the button, they got the $5 jugs on top. So this guy would always bring mama whiskey, $5 jug. She said, boy, go water the hog. What you gonna have? I went and gave him the moonshine. I didn't know. I poured the whole $5 in the water trough in the hog. Mom come from the blue for the night. She said, boy, what's wrong with them hogs? Then she went, look, she said, Lord have mercy, you done gave the hog, Mom. Truth I ever told. I didn't know. $5 of moonshine, $5 of water. Both of them are just like, if you don't color it, good true moonshine is clear just like water. So she told me to go water the hog. They had a system out back. I'm thinking she already got the water ready to go, so I go pour the moonshine whiskey in the hog trough. They were drunk that night. She was so mad, she couldn't even laugh. She said, boy, you done gave the hog my whiskey. Oh, I said, Mom, I didn't know. But I mean, I could tell, when I said about the blues, I could tell story. How many of you know, everybody pretty much know about a catfish, or put your car. Them guys would drink that moonshine and make a sandwich with all the bones in it and eat it without spitting the bones out. I'm serious, I'm dead serious. No problem. Them old guys could drink moonshine. I'm not talking about a cat. Now you can eat a catfish, because catfish didn't have many bones anyway. The old fish, they call it buffalo. I bet it had 1,000,000 bones in it. put it between two slices of bread and eat it like a hamburger. And them guys were so good at it. Fish going this side and boom, bone coming out that side. Could separate it with the tongue. I used to sit up and watch it. They'd eat with the eyes shut, drunk, bite, bone coming out. Inside of the mouth, not picking them out, the tongue was separating. The blue front, I've seen so much of that blue front over the year. Women get ready for the hub on, especially on Saturday. Go to the blue front, he down there getting drunk, drinking that May Cave whiskey. My mom was named Mary, my dad was named Cave. And the lady was looking for their husband. Oh, they down there drinking that May Cave whiskey. Yeah, get that moonshiner named May Cave. My mom was named Mary, my dad was named Cave. So the women would be mad with the men because they wouldn't come home. Down there drinking that May Cave whiskey. Truth I ever told?
I knew I'd get that truth out of you if we just sat down long enough.
Yeah, truth I ever told. I mean, I experienced a whole lot. Now, it was, my mom had 10, she birthed 10 kids, and she raised 4 of her siblings because she had a sister that passed away, and she didn't want those kids to get separated, so she took 4 of her nephews in. So, in other words, it was 14 of us, and we all survived out of the blue front. My mom never worked a public job. But you know, it was divine. We made it. We made it.
Tell us about your relationship with Jack Owens.
I'm gonna say Jack was the last one that I was able to really. Now I had been watching them guys play the Bentonia style. Now Jack was, I don't know about Skip James, but Henry Stuck and Jack Owens was illiterate. Henry knew his name if he seen it. Jack didn't know it if he seen it. And even though especially Jack played the guitar that a lot of the Europeans aspired to do it, they couldn't do it. She asked Jack, said, well, can you play me an open or sharp or flat? He didn't know what you was talking about. But he could do it unaware his God-given ability to do it. If you said, well, where your G string at, Jack? Couldn't tell you. He called it the big end. Now, the newly term for this string right here is the low end. Jack, based on the way it sounds, it's got a heavier pitch than the string. He called it the big end. He called this the little end. The professor name, newly name, that's the high end. This is the little end. Now, when I was telling you about the open tuning, can y'all hear that pretty good? The stud string from the bottom of it, the G string. That's the string that Jack and Skip and used to set it apart. That's the lonesome haunting sound. You can tell if you got some young ones who been inspired, have a determination to play guitar. It can be complicated if they're gonna try from the standard way of people playing like standard tuning now. Did those guys, the Jack and Skip, did those guys know what they was doing when they learned to tune this way? I don't know. But here's the catch to it. You can play this particular style of tuning without singing or stringing it out. Now, I think this is what the European guys found out. You didn't have to do a lot of finger picking. But later years, after they caught on to it, they took it to another level. Now, you listen to me real careful so you can go back and tell somebody. This particular style of tuning, play gospel, Christmas carol. Now listen to me real good. The Silent night, oh, the night, all's gone, all dry. Round, good, mother and child. Now, same token. And the European guy, they knew, they picked that up on. Now you can also do Christmas carol, not Christmas carol, gospel. Amazing and great, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. That's what Mick Jagger and them found out. They could do that. Now I'm gonna show you now. Then they did them love ballad. That's what they did. And they did a little turnaround. They did it over and over, and they would come up with lyrics. And like I say, they put a beat to it. It is swept the U.S. when it started here, but it went to Europe and got kind of modified, and they brought it back and it took the U.S. by like a storm. You know it.
Yeah, put a whole bunch of musicians out of work in the United States. That's for true.
Those guys, Henry, Skip, Jack, they died piss poor. But they laid a root, music-wise, that will stand forever. But now, guys like him, they still recognize him. They're not here to receive the glory, but they started it. And because of those guys, the men, probably guys like y'all, still out here in search of it. Question. Don't stand.
What about church and the blues?
Huh?
Church and the blues.
What about it?
How does it go together or come apart? How do blues musicians today feel about playing the blues and that being possibly against the ideas of church?
You know what that is? At some point, I'm not saying Christian, I'm not saying whoever, whatever that nomination might be. To a certain extent, they give blues a bad rap. You know why? They don't understand. And you all can attest to this. You could get drunk tonight. You go to the boat tonight. Decide you want to go to church tomorrow and confess that you know what they're going to tell you? We're going to pray for you. Now you put a guitar to that testimony. Oh, they ain't nothing but the devil. They ain't nothing but the devil. They don't want to hear it. Put a guitar, a piano, they don't want to hear it. But if you just do it verbally, well, I messed up last night, I messed up last week, oh, we're going to pray for you, we're going to pray for you. But you say, I'm going to tell y'all what I did last week. With that guitar, they don't want to hear it. It's a lack of understanding. And I'm not trying to convert nobody now. Trust me, I'm not trying to convert nobody. For those of you who are familiar, in the Bible, I'm not trying to convert you now. In the Bible, David danced till he pulled his clothes off. His wife got shamed. Said, man, go put your clothes on. He was instructed by the good Lord to go celebrate. Am I lying? Did he tell him to go celebrate? But he got carried away. I believe a little drunk. Then the old lady told him, you need to go sit down now. You going too far. It's the truth. It's how an individual looks at something. You tell me, well, that's right or that's wrong. And that's what it is with the guitar. You can moan, groan. In my church now, you can moan and groan without the guitar. You moan and groan with the guitar, you sin. So I can't answer that question.
Does the moan and groan to the blues, from the moan and groan in the church, didn't that lead to the blues?
Now the moaning and groaning, I don't, to my understanding, probably some of this, it came, and this is another thing. I don't know, for some reason, now, like I said, it's a misunderstanding. They like to associate blues with black people. Far from true. They like to associate country and western white people. Far from true. It's the way we perceive stuff. Charlie Pride was a hell of a country and western singer. Do you know Charlie Pride? You know Charlie Pride? Oh, he's one of the best.
I'm probably one of the youngest people in the room. I don't know nothing about none of
He was.
I'm in here to learn.
We say they know Charlie
Well,
Pride.
you just learned something.
Charlie Pride from Sledge, Mississippi, about maybe 45 minutes from ours. He was a hell of a country and western singer.
Wonderful.
Kissing Angel, good morning.
That's before her time.
But my point is, we as people, we identify certain things with certain race of people. That's absolutely wrong. It's not true. It's not true. And you can't hold it against them in the bed because that's what I said earlier. They don't know any better. Can't hold it against them. When a person don't know, he just don't know. What the bad part about when he don't know and don't know, he don't know. That's what's bad. It don't stand to be corrected. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I'm just,
Oh, y'all,
amen.
You got me in here. You got me in here to ask me
Well, I
something.
want to tell you this here. The younger generation in the African American church, they playing more the guitars and the instruments. The elders might
And
be with the young ones, oh, they tearing it down with the
Well,
guitars.
I got a, when I do happen to go, my pastor, every now and then, because he have to go past the Blue Fund, going to the church, he'll stop by the Blue Fund. And I always tease myself, all right, pastor, do what the member gonna say. You know what he told me? He ain't living for the member. Is that right?
That's right. That's how it is now.
He said, the only way he won't come to the Blue Fund, my pastor, he said, the only way he don't come to the Blue Fund, I tell him don't come. He said, as long as I make him welcome. He
So
said,
the younger generation will come in the blue.
he said, it doesn't mean that he coming there to get drunk. It doesn't mean
Right.
that. Not even mean that he coming there
to listen.
Fellowship.
fellowship. But my point is, back what I just said earlier, people get the wrong concept, and the wrong concept because you don't know. It won't take time to try to find out different.
Perception.
Bottom line. You know, of course. When you asked me, did I want to interview?
Preach on, brother.
And I told him earlier, when he was asking about the interview, I said, I'll tell you something now. It's going to be either yes or I don't know. Don't try to wiggle and twist to give me the answer, something I don't know. That's going to be the answer. Remember that you do not have to rehearse the truth.
That's right. I like them heard that down.
You do not have to rehearse the
Quote
truth.
on it.
Preach on, brother.
A good attorney would tell you, tell me and let me do the lie. Because he's going to rehearse it. You do not have to rehearse the truth. Truth is only one thing, the truth. Now, the album that he was saying, or the CD, they got nominated for the Grammy a couple of years ago. For 2 years, the Black Keys have been trying to get me to come in Nashville to record that album. But I guess they were afraid they told me what the trip was going until I wasn't going to come. It didn't make me no difference. I kept telling them no, so I found out. I finally got the time to go. And they still ain't told me nothing about doing no album. They said, you gonna bring your guitar? I said, how can a man say he's a mechanic, ain't got a screwdriver with him? How can I say my musician ain't got a guitar with him? I said, I don't leave home unless I got the guitar or two. But anyway, Michael Rose know that they had a 4-day recording session scheduled. I did it in 3 hours.
Wow. Awesome. Wow.
I'm gonna brag on it. Still didn't know. Got there morning, went to the hotel Monday night, got over to the studio 2 at 8 a.m. 1:30. I said, what's up? He looked at me and shook his head. I said, man, you did just what we wanted to do. We thought it was gonna take 4 days. Did one track twice. Back it up. If you're gonna do it truthfully, everything I play, lyric-wise, out of the experience. So when you gonna rehearse the truth? So about Tuesday afternoon, No, Wednesday afternoon, I told him, man, let's go to Bentonia. I'm finished, I'm done. Get the plate.
Back to Bentonia.
Get the plate, I'm done. Say it, say, tell your kids, your grandkids, you do not have to rehearse the truth. You have to rehearse a lot, but you want to make sure you tell it right every time. You don't rehearse the truth. And those particular songs I did on that album, either I had experienced them, that particular lyric, I know someone who had. And that's all it took me going in the studio and do it. And when I got to go back and do another session with her,
The ninth.
when
You gotta go up there tonight, don't you?
you the same, the black kid down there back, and I keep, because make sure, want you to do 6 songs. I don't want to tell you about no 6 songs. That's when you want me in the studio. I'll do 100. Tell me when you want. Tell me when you. How many times you ever came to your blue front and I was practicing?
Shoot, man.
My point is, it's an individual, not just music-wise, an individual is something that's already in you. It takes certain situations to bring it out. It's already there.
Right, right.
A lot of things are already there. It's like you cannot change your gene. If you're the type of person that has a gene that you get angry real quick, can't change that. Now you can try your best to avoid a situation where that particular gene gonna show up, but it's still there.
So,
It's still there. If you didn't have that trait from your parent, you can't move it. Now you can, only thing you can do about that particular trait is not try to get put in that situation where it would happen.
definitely.
Why do you think your doctor asked you, anybody in your family was a diabetic? Have you ever got asked that question?
I've asked that question.
You asked that question? Well, eventually somewhere down the line it's gonna show up. That's like you, the blueprint of your life or my life, I mean your physical or your genetic blueprint, you might can alter it. If you try to alter it, you're gonna mess up something. It's there. Because guess what, when you try to alter it, that's who you're interfering with.
I have a question. You've probably been asked this a lot, but I'm not familiar with you, and I love the blues. Who were some of your major influences, would you say, with your music? Your music. Who were some of your musicians that really steered you in that direction?
The most influential person that going back to the music out there was Jack Holmes. Now he wasn't the first one that started it.
What's his name?
Jack, J-A-C-K, Jack O-W-E-N-S, Jack Owens.
Not familiar with him.
Well, he's all over the internet, but he's all over. But anyway, sometimes stuff happen in life. We got no idea why it's happening, why it's going to happen, why it don't stop. It's why it became ill, bedridden. Wasn't mentally ill. At that particular time, he didn't trust the doctor. She messed around and had an infection on her leg. He wouldn't take her to the doctor. He stayed with her. He would come just occasionally to the blue front to show me how to play the guitar. And bless his heart, again, he couldn't read nor write. He come daily. And to him, undoubtedly, I wasn't progressing guitar-wise. And I guess a thought came to him, a divine thought came to him. He came one day, he told me, he said, boy, you got to learn this. He said, watch what I'm doing. He couldn't tell me play it over, play it closed sharp. He told me to watch his hand, and that's what I did.
You watched his hand.
What he was doing. Thank God. Here I am today.
All right, I hate to end this because you're on the road, brother. You're on the road, but we got to stop.
Okay,
We're out of time. and
You
I'm-
got to stop.
I'm sorry as I can be.
Tell
You're
him,
gonna play
man.
at 4:15.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. You know,
I'm
no.
looking forward to that.
y'all need to go and watch The Truth unrehearsed at 4:15.
We will be there.
It's the same right now as it was in
Well, I
1982.
I enjoyed it, being able to answer some of your questions. And like I say, if you want to drop me an email, some of my grandson will read it and get it to me, or whatever you wanna do, that's Jimmy Duck Home.
We can get
Got a
information
Facebook
from the
page.
chauffeur.
Huh?
The one y'all have information?
Yeah,
Okay, we can get from y'all.
yeah, there you
I
go.
like the name, I like the duck.
Don't ask me where that come from.
Where did that come from?
I get asked that question a lot of times,
Yeah.
and it happens in the white community too. Most kids got an alias. We call them nicknames. White kids like got nicknames. Some they call duck, some they call horse, some they call corn, pig, all that. And my mom said my little playmate decided they started calling me duck. As close as I could get it.
So it just stuck.
It just right.
It stuck. The
But
duck.
some call me Jimmy, some call me Duck, some call me Jimmy Duck. I'll answer to either one of them.
All right.
That's a song right there.
Thank you.
So is your guitar tuned ADGBE?
That's standard tone.
Right, that's standard tuning. And how do you tune yours?
To go to tune where I'm, and this is what the professionals say, this used to be this EAD. The professionals say you bring the A string up a half a note, and you bring the D up a half a note. You don't mess with the rest of it. And you go from standard to over. A and D, so you bring them up a half a note and you're there.
Afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.